Hey folks, Jordan with the Young Turks and TYT Politics. Hope you are having a nice day. I am still in Little Creek Camp, in Williamsburg, Iowa. I've been here for a few days. This is kind of a smaller offshoot of the main Standing Rock camp. About 30 to 40 people here at its max so far. And in addition to continuing to fight the Dakota Access Pipeline, which has lawsuits going on in Iowa, right now, pertaining to eminent domain, the camp is, like many other camps popping up around the country, kind of a gathering spot for water protectors to do more than just focus on the pipelines, but kind of be a think tank for how to fight fossil fuels and corrupt government overall. So it's been a really interesting experience. I did a video from here the other day. I'll be doing more before I head to Flint, Michigan. I'll be headed to Flint, Michigan later this week to cover the protest camp there, which I feel very good about because apparently this protest camp was created after my town hall there. So something that happened at the town hall we did inspired some residents of Flint to create a water protectors camp there in Flint, Michigan. So I'll be there later in the week. But today, I'm not going to rant because I'm at a camp and I'm feeling fairly peaceful, but I am going to have a loud voice. Let's put it that way. Because our friend, Kelsey Warren, if you're unfamiliar, he is the CEO of Energy Transfer Partners. Energy Transfer Partners is the parent company for the Dakota Access Pipeline. It's the parent company for the Trans-Pecos Pipeline in Texas, which I went down to cover. Kelsey Warren is worth $7.8 billion. That's billion dollars. Kelsey Warren gave over $6 million to former Texas Governor Rick Perry, that genius who could not remember the Energy Department in 2012 that he now runs. So Kelsey Warren gave $6 million to Rick Perry throughout his career. In addition, he gave a lot of money, millions, to Perry's ill-fated and short presidential run in 2016, which was his second. So he bought off Rick Perry, got whatever he wanted from Rick Perry. And what do you know? Donald Trump appointed Rick Perry as Energy Secretary. And as soon as Rick Perry came in and Donald Trump came in, like that, the final permit for the Dakota Access Pipeline was granted. And now we know the oil is flowing under the Missouri River and the pipeline is functioning. So that's how Kelsey Warren, who, again, CEO of this giant oil company. By the way, the media doesn't report this, but Energy Transfer Partners is $29 billion in debt. That's $29 billion with a B. So really what happened there is Kelsey Warren called his employee, that would be the governor of Texas, now Greg Abbott, and he called his employees in North Dakota, which are the many state officials who take money from Kelsey Warren, and said, hey, this is what I need done, get it done. And like that, it was done. It's very similar to why you don't hear from corporate Democrats. You didn't hear from corporate Democrats during the Standing Rock situation, because they too, maybe not directly from Kelsey Warren, but they take money from Exxon and Enbridge and all these big oil companies. So they don't actually speak out when unarmed citizens are being brutalized or a toxic oil pipeline is being put under the longest river in the United States, jeopardizing upwards of 20 million people's drinking water, in addition to destroying sacred land. So they don't speak out, and the Republican governor, Rick Perry, was bought off. But now, that was the former governor. The current governor, Greg Abbott, he used to be the Attorney General of Texas. So before he became governor, he was the Attorney General, and guess who gave him $550,000 in cash? In cash for his governor campaign. Say it with me now. Kelsey Warren. So this is like 1920s backroom mafioso style. Just come in. I don't know if it was a suitcase or whatever it was. It's a lot of money to give out in cash. And you could check it. I mean, it's the Dallas, I'm looking at the Dallas News reported this. So it was a cash donation, which I find suspect. I don't really know how you report to the FEC in these bodies cash deals like that, but I'll look into that separately. So Kelsey Warren gave Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, who, by the way, unrelated, is one of these like pray the gay away kind of people. He wants to shut down all the abortion Planned Parenthoods in Texas. If it were up to him, we'd move back to the 1950s. Women would be in the kitchen. You know these kinds. So Greg Abbott got $550,000 for his campaign. A lot more since then. Overall, Greg Abbott has gotten $700,000 from Kelsey Warren. And what did Greg Abbott do last year? He appointed Kelsey Warren to be on the board of the Texas Wildlife Commission. Let me get the exact name for you. Yeah, he appointed Kelsey Warren to be on the Texas Wildlife Commission, and he appointed his wife, Amy Warren, to be on the Humanities Texas Commission, whatever that means. It sounds nice, but why are these people being appointed? And why is it that a big oil executive is being appointed to a board where the majority of things he would collectively be deciding he has a conflict of interest in? And you hear the behind the scenes, they agree with me. You're hearing Minnie Wachoni here at the camp. So that would be like, me covering Bernie Sanders, knowing that if Bernie Sanders wins the campaign, I already have a position in his campaign. I mean, his presidency. That would be like a conflict of interest. You would kind of question, well, was his reporting really factual since he already had this sweetheart deal with the Sanders campaign? By the way, this wasn't a deal. I'm just making it up. Bernie would be very stupid to hire me. But the point is, Governor Abbott, after getting $550,000 in cash from this big oil executive, appointed him to the Texas Wildlife Commission. Well, some of the things that the Texas Wildlife Commission are deciding right now, let me get it for you, are whether pipelines should be going through major water bodies, pipelines that Kelsey Warren is involved with. So Kelsey Warren, let me give you an example. In November of last year, Warren recused himself from voting on a pipeline easement in the J.D. Muffrey Wildlife Management Area. The issue has been tabled till the next meeting. He also agreed to meet with Pete Heflin of the Society of Native Nations to discuss desecration of sacred burial grounds. Well, guess what? Kelsey Warren agreed to meet with members of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe. The only thing is they couldn't bring in any recorded devices or anything that would actually document what he said. Why would somebody who has nothing to hide and really wants dialogue with Native Americans have a problem with transparency of what was discussed in the meeting? Sounds like a big oil executive to me. So, make no mistake, what is being voted on Thursday morning at 8 a.m. in the Texas Senate, that's at the Capitol, Austin, is Warren being selected permanently to this board. Now, if he's elected to this board, the Texas, let me make sure I have the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, I don't care if he recuses himself from everything that has to do with pipelines or this and that. He's not on that board for show. He's a billionaire. So his influence, whether he votes or not, is there. I mean, that's common sense. And Greg Abbott, the Texas governor, who appointed him, isn't appointing him so he could, feel special sitting on a board. It's pay to play. It's, you scratched my back, I'm going to scratch your asshole. That's what this is. So Kelsey Warren is literally going to be a voting board member. He could recuse himself on some things, but he will be a voting board member on a presumably by the name, Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, which is supposed to protect the wildlife. Well, you don't have to be like a raging hippie progressive to think, well, sometimes there's oil pipelines and fracking wells and many other things that endanger the wildlife. And it's not opinion, it's fact. We know all the oil spills. But this type of transparent corruption I almost prefer, because at least it's out in the open. They're not really hiding it. And the corporate media won't cover it, so they get away with it. That's why they keep doing this, because nobody ever covers it, exposes them, and activates people to do something about it. Sari says, Texas is lawless. He only recused himself from the vote because we have been protesting his appointment at the commission meetings. This is true. So, like I said, he could recuse himself till he's blue in the face, but his influence is there. The deals have already been made. So the other people voting, I don't want to impugn people I don't know, but this is how it happens in Texas and North Dakota and New Jersey and New York, the back room, cigar-filled rooms. It's already decided what they're going to be doing. And Kelsey Warren, by the way, in addition to his super humanitarian work in North Dakota, ramming a pipeline through the longest river, desecrating lands, he, in Texas, is overseeing a natural gas pipeline that is literally going through Texas, underground, under the Rio Grande, into Mexico, to be liquefied and sold to China. Natural gas. And guess what? They're using eminent domain in Texas for natural gas that will be sold to China. And I went down there and I covered it. And I interviewed your card-carrying Republicans on their land, ranch owners who have pipelines going through their backyard, the Trans-Pecos pipeline it's called. And these are traditional Republican voters. Very nice people I met. We don't agree on everything, but they invited me into their home. And let me tell you, it's not a partisan issue. Most people will be pissed if their home that they spent their life earnings on, their private ranch, was dug up by the U.S. government, not to put like schools in, not to put hospitals in, not to put things in that, are for the public good, but to build a natural gas pipeline so Kelsey Warren could add another couple billion to his column, or billion, and sell our natural gas to China. I guess that's their version of energy independence. So Kelsey Warren, Thursday morning, at the Texas State Capitol, they will be voting for whether Kelsey Warren, again, the CEO of Energy Transfer Partners, which is $29 billion in debt, which has paid Rick Perry, the former governor, upwards of $6 million, which has paid the current governor nearly $1 million in political contributions. It will be voted on whether he should be a permanent member of the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department. And there are over 95 parks and wildlife areas that are under that column in Texas, including the Big Bend region, which has been, the Trans-Pecos pipeline has destroyed land connected to the Big Bend region, which I've never been, but Big Bend, it's a huge tourist spot around the United States. People come from around the country to go to the Big Bend region, and they're building a pipeline right through there. So yeah, we are living in a bizarro world. And by the way, I'm not a Hillary Clinton fan at all. But can you imagine if Hillary Clinton, as president, was invested in a controversial pipeline like the Dakota Access Pipeline, which President Trump was, and did nothing, rammed it through, and then was allowing this shit to go on in places like Texas. This quid pro quo, pay for play, 1920s style mafioso. Oh my God. Left, right, we'd be out on the streets with pitchforks. And I'm not defending Hillary Clinton. Don't take it that way. I'm just saying, let's be consistent. Donald Trump is allowing this to go on, because guess who else got money from Energy Transfer Partners? That populist beacon of freedom, Donald Trump. Got hundreds of thousands of dollars from Energy Transfer Partners, and he's invested in the Dakota Access Pipeline. So I want you to share this video. I want you to get it out. Right now, it's Tuesday. This is Thursday morning at 8 a.m. A source on the ground tells me they try to do some funny business there, so it's very possible they could come in at 7:45, vote right away before all the activists show up. So if you are in the Texas capital area, which I believe is in Austin, let me confirm that. The state capital is in Austin. The vote is at 8 a.m., but they could do it earlier. I don't think, Texas is the #1 oil and gas state in the country, but you'd be surprised what politicians do and do not do if they feel there is a very, very burning flame lit under their anuses. And I know that's not exactly journalistic for me to say, but I've seen it up close. If nobody shows up and they just essentially appoint their sugar daddy, their financial sugar daddy, to a commission that he has no business being on, well, you get the government you deserve. And if you allow that to happen, that's on you. So 8 a.m., Texas Capitol. The Senate will vote Thursday whether to make Kelsey Warren's temporary appointment, which has been going on now for a year, permanent to the Texas Wildlife and Parks Committee. But I want to give you a little more context so you know who Kelsey Warren is. Because we know he's, the CEO of a big oil company. He doesn't give a damn about native rights. He doesn't give a damn about your water, your environment, none of that. Meanwhile, he's building the biggest wind farm in the Caribbean. So he knows what the future is. But he is actually building, look it up, he is building the biggest wind farm in the Caribbean, just like Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, was part of a fracking lawsuit so that fracking would not happen near his home. So he doesn't mind if it happens near your home or your land, just not his, the Republican way. So Kelsey Warren literally publicly offered to pay the North Dakota oil police to pay their overtime for their brutality. I have it right here. Let me get it for you. CBS News is reporting that Energy Transfer Partners CEO Kelsey Warren says the company wants to reimburse the state of North Dakota and Morton County for expenses related to the Dakota Access Pipeline protests, but authorities in North Dakota have yet to accept the offer. And the story is updated. I reached out to Governor Dalrymple, who was the governor of North Dakota, and Morton County Sheriff's Department to get a statement regarding Mr. Warren's comments. Governor DAPL said, the governor's office has not received an offer from Energy Transfer Partners to reimburse the state or Morton County for expenses. We do believe, however, that the federal government is partially responsible for costs incurred to maintain public safety. Yeah, maintain public safety. Because of its actions and inactions surrounding the pipeline project, and we will continue to press for federal support. Morton County Sheriff gave another ridiculous non-statement. But to this day, it's never been confirmed whether the Morton County Sheriff actually accepted that money. I'm digging into it, but they don't exactly make those records public. But literally, the oil company that the public police department brutalized people for months to defend not defend the people, to defend their private oil company, literally was offered by the CEO to pay their overtime. And also, let's take into account when he says for the public safety. Well, what were those public safety mechanisms that the CEO of Energy Transfer Partners is offering to pay for? Grenades, tear gas, which is a chemical weapon banned in warfare as of 1993. Tear gas is not allowed in warfare. The police are allowed to use it on people, but you can't use it in war. America, right? Grenades, tear gas, pepper spray, military tanks, police from out of state. Minnesota came in, Ohio, we just learned, came in, California, Wisconsin. So not only is the pay for play out there in Texas, but literally we all knew that the police were working for the oil company, but at least, he made it public. I'll give him points for corruption out in the open. Courtney said, make a FOIA. I have. I'm waiting to hear back. Thank you, Courtney. Freedom of information request, by the way. So I think this is important. Whether Kelsey Warren gets on this board or not, you can't just let blatant corruption. If you let it happen and you don't go down there and you don't speak up, whether you're from Texas or elsewhere, corruption continues to be the status quo in this country. If you go there, you make your voice heard. You might not win now, but maybe I'm young enough to still be idealistic. I think you do win eventually. But the Kelsey Warrens of the world brazenly offered to pay off the police because the corporate media doesn't call them out, and activists stay silent and let them do as they do, and then let corrupt state officials elect them onto wildlife commissions. So I would suggest, if this is important to you, if you don't believe that big oil should run our government, because it is the United Corporations of America, and big oil is at the front of the table, then I would suggest getting over to the Texas State Capitol at 7 a.m. on Thursday morning. Call in sick if you have to. And please share this video. As I always say, most people aren't lacking compassion. Most people don't know what the fuck is going on. Because I guarantee you, you're not going to hear this on CNN today or the New York Times. Trump has tweeted something that's more important. So that's the deal. Thank you for watching. I will obviously follow up and cover whatever happens. Again, Thursday morning, I would suggest 7 a.m. because they could do a little jiu-jitsu and vote on this early. Make yourself heard. And call the Texas legislation. Call Greg Abbott's office, the governor of Texas. Let them know how you feel. about brazen and blatant corruption. I agree with Ted Cruz on one thing. We do need to take the country back. But we don't need to take the country back from the Mexicans or the Muslims. We need to take the country back from these corrupt goons. And with that, I bid you adieu. Thanks for watching.